If you're seeing this video, then you've gone directly to jail. That's this channel. And you've probably also got a major problem. And that problem was that in the last year, you've probably bought some form of Pokemon product. Something like a card, or a graded card, or a sealed proper booster box. And it's a lot of money. It was a lot of money then, and odds are it's a lot more money now. And you've probably been faced with a major problem that the UK in particular faces, or a particular collector in the UK might face, which is that I have no way to value this collection or value these specific items properly. So I had this problem where I couldn't find anything that focused on the UK market. I had to go onto eBay. I had to essentially manually search over and over the specific product I had to say, ooh, someone's selling it for 370, ooh, someone's selling it for 350. And then just make like little notes in an Excel spreadsheet. That was the most accurate way. Your other less accurate ways were looking at the US market via like price charting or Collectr and sort of guesstimating by removing tariffs in your mind. This really doesn't work. You can't really sit on eBay and search over and over every day, and well, unless you're me. And it's harder to account for the sort of distortions in the US market because US distribution is different, demand is different, and supply is different. So about a year ago, when I was looking for my solution to this problem, I stumbled across Project PokePulse, now called Pulse TCG, and it solved this major problem for me. So what is Pulse TCG? On the face of it, it's a collector website. It's primarily aimed at people seeking to digitally register their collections across three different kinds of categories: so raw cards, graded cards, and sealed products. But as you can see, it is also a sort of data visualization platform that seems to appeal also to investors and people that are looking to understand what is going up, what is going down, what constitutes a return, and essentially how their investments are doing. So it's both collectibles and an asset platform. But then, what is perhaps less obvious is it is also for vendors. So if I head on over to the vending dashboard, empty right now, but you can see that it's also a means of managing specific inventory in the context that a vendor might. So looking at market value, what they might sticker the cards as, or the total costs versus the cash flow costs that you might have. And this split between these three kinds of customer bases is reflected in its monetization, which you can see from the price plan. There's the casual tier, which is free at the moment because it's in beta, and that is for collectors, so you can track and look at your collection. Then there's the investor tier, which covers a bunch of functions we've not looked at yet, and the vendor tier, which covers the vending dashboard and all of the management sort of features that are listed there. So you might be asking, why would I use Pulse TCG over any of its competitors, which is Collectr or price charting, or even yourself if you're making your own Excel spreadsheets? Allow me to show you. Once you navigate over to any specific product, so in this case I started from my portfolio, I literally just clicked on Pikachu with grey felt hat, and you can navigate down to the data points that make up the graph. And it's about where they pull this data from. So we can see there was an Ace 10 that was sold back on the 2nd of June. Where? On the UK market on eBay. Now, this should be somewhat of a bombshell, because I don't know any other portfolio tracking websites that use UK data from eBay, nor do I know any that specifically track. If we just have a look here, we navigate over to graded card price. I don't know any that track Ace 10s. Now, Ace is a very specific UK brand of graded card. It's obviously nowhere near as valuable as a PSA 10, but it is very popular because it has a very, very fast turnaround time. And as a result, it is the most liquid way to get an encapsulated version of a card that you might want. And I think probably the best illustrator of this would be the Portfolio Activity tab. On this tab, you can see what has gone down and what has gone up over the last 24 hours, 7 days, or 30 days. In this case, it was all today. So you can't really see the difference, but you can imagine.
So you're going to want to head over to PulseTCG.io. There is a deprecated domain called PokePulse.io that mirrors many of the same features, but as far as I understand, PulseTCG is the one that's being actively worked on.
So you might be thinking at this point, oh my god, I need to start this right now. When can I start? And the answer is right now. You can just make an account right now. And when you do, you'll just go over to portfolios just from the start and you just create a new one. In this case, we can make one called Jail Time 2 for the video. And then just create a portfolio, but you haven't got anything. And you'll see it's defaulted straight to my portfolio. You scroll down to your new portfolio. And now you add or import a collection to your portfolio. So if I go and import a collection, it allows you to import your data from Collectr, PokeCart values, price charting, generic CSV, a generic CSV, basically anything that complies with how it reads CSVs. I've never done this personally, and it is in beta, so your mileage may vary. But the most traditional way, and the way I did it, was I just searched products or browsed products. This you could browse 100,000 products, or you could look for, I don't know, Dark Charizard. There we go. Unlimited, well, first edition Dark Charizard Holo. And you add him to the portfolio. You have to be careful which portfolio you add him to. You can select this is in particular quite impressive. If there is eBay data on the condition of the card, it will pull the specific data for moderately played, heavily played, or lightly played, but we're going to say near mint. Or you can record it as a graded card. And this is probably the most important part. You're going to want to write the purchase price. And the reason I say this is because it's very easy to trick yourself into thinking you've made £1 billion by buying something and estimating, oh, look, the thing has gone up. You may have overpaid. You may have paid £10,000 for this card. And dear Lord, the graph evaporates into nothing. So, a cautionary tale, always put what cost you have paid for the card in so that you can more accurately track the value of your portfolio. In this case, you can see it has obliterated all of the returns. Oh my god, I'm ruined.
So the most observant among you will have noticed that even though you've added these raw cards to your portfolio, that they are only displayed in this narrow column or in the top three on these sections up here. And you might be cradling your master set binder saying, but I want to look at it like this. And you actually can. There's a virtualized binder feature on Pulse TCG. So we're going to create a binder. I'm going to call it Prismatic Master Set. Yeah. So a master set is all of the cards in the set. You can customize the size of the digitalized binder, and the idea is that you just look at your binder and what you've got, and you just type in what that is. That's how many slots per page there are. You can start from the set and then populate it as you go. You can start from your portfolio if you've already done the hard work, in which case you don't even need to add any additional data. Or you can add just an entire national Pokedex and fill that in. But we're going to start from a set just to give you a rough idea of what it's like. So we're going to look for Prismatic. There's Prismatic Evolutions. It's 485 cards. We're going to include the promos, but we can exclude them. And it's going to look like this. So you have every card in the set, every variant of every card in the set. That's what makes it a master set. Grayed out. And the reason it's grayed out is because you haven't actually input any data yet. What you've done is you've pre-populated the binder and essentially marked where you want the cards to go in your mind, in this case, in your digital binder. If you want to populate the data, you just click on one and then you input the purchase price. Definitely remember to put in your cost basis, which is the purchase price, and also when you purchased it, all the important stuff. And you can manipulate this to some extent, though it's still in beta. So you can actually stack these cards on top of each other, so that instead of displaying say every variant from Jumbo to Master to Cosmos to Reverse. It all serves as one. This does mess with your ability to add data. But for example, you can add it to this one. You can't add it to this one because this is actually like 5 cards. But there you go. If you desperately want your binder experience, it's there on Pulse TCG. So you may be wondering, well, what are the current downsides of using Pulse TCG versus its competitors? And there's a handful. Currently, it's in beta, and there are some pretty prominent bugs that have some, let's say, not lasting effects, but they're pretty visible effects. For example, I'm looking at the latest reports section. This is like an investor feature on the investor tier. And I noticed on the 7-day price movers, bloody hell, this is up 131%. Pokeball tins are. This is fantastic for Pokeball tin enjoyers. I click on the Pokeball tin, I click on him again. Let's have a look at it in full detail. If I head on over to the actual data points here, you'll notice that one of these data points does not look like the others. One of them is Pokeball TCG Tin 3-pack from 2026. This is actually 3 Pokeball tins, each invariably underneath £20 each. So this should be bad news. So this is the bug. When you see something like this on this website, pokepulse.io or pulsetcg.io, you report it for data contamination. I'm not going to report it again, but I've already reported it once. The idea is you write something like, should be 1 tin, right? So that's the first major problem. The second problem is more of a long-term issue. At the moment, it's acceptable. In the future, maybe not so. The problem is that it costs money to use. As with all good things, it costs money. So it's free for now because we're in beta. But the problem is that it's going to be worth £4 for the basic collector features once the beta is over. Investor and vendor features are paywall behind, I think, quite hefty price tags. So it's like £10 for the investor tier and £30 for the vendor tier. I would only recommend the £30 for the vendor tier if you are a business making decent turnover and it's actually going to improve the logistical flow of your business. And I believe it would, particularly with the insights it can offer. In particular, there are future features to be added. I think the reports dealt with tax accounting. That's kind of a big deal. That's like tax accounting software, in addition to being a management software, in addition to being an investment sort of platform, in addition to being, well, it's not an investment platform, it's an investment planning platform, in addition to being like a collection tracker. But still, things that cost money, especially the way the economy is currently going, it's a hard sell. And probably the other sort of major downside is it is early in its development, so it only has covered Pokemon, Disney Lorcana, and One Piece. Riftbound is to be added soon. I'm not entirely sure why Riftbound is being added ahead of like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or similarly more established TCGs. I believe it might have something to do with how immense the card lists and the set lists are for those TCGs. But keep in mind there is no current support for Magic the Gathering. So in my situation, it's make my own CSV for Magic the Gathering stuff. All of my Pokemon now goes onto Pokepulse. So in conclusion, you should probably just check it out. I reckon if this interests you in any way whatsoever, I say give it a go. In particular, it's free at the moment. There's no excuse not to. But whilst you also have access to like the free tier, you will have, and you can see the little banner at the top of the screen that I've been on this for 3 days, testing the video and stuff. But you get 7 days, you get a week of free access to all of the tiers. But in addition to that, if you use a referral code from another user, then you get free access for a month. So I can flash my referral code onto the screen and just say it out loud, it's C06EF988. So if you sign up with that code, you will get a month free. Or you could use the link in the description I've added. I'm going to be making additional videos sort of covering the investor tier in greater detail and the vendor tier features in greater detail. That's going to be difficult because I'm not a vendor. But I think it's important that people know like what a platform like this offers, and the fact that it fits that that niche that has gone unfilled for such a long time, which is that it services the UK market, and it allows UK people to feel like humans again by looking at their collections and being like, yeah, I didn't waste any money. It's great. But this is my first video, so thank you very much for your time.